Four places you should never visit when you're in love. When I'm speaking about places, I'm figuratively speaking about things you should not do when you're in love. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. This is Jenga Njero. On this episode, I want to take you through four places you should never visit. And if you visit these places, you will regret. They will do you more harm than good. The problem with most people is that they think they are the first people to fall in love. And therefore, when you speak about areas that become gray at some point, people say, "Oh, Jenga, you are insensitive. Jenga, you don't know how I'm feeling. You have never been in such a position." But wait a minute, you're not the very first person to fall in love. And number two, laws are laws, rules are rules. If you bend them, they will bend you. Are we together? So what are these four places you should never visit? Before then, if you're watching us for the very first time, this is the Matchmaker Show. We help men and women to get matches. We also from time to time enlighten them, because the more enlightened you are on any subject matter, the greater the level of command you gain. Are we together? So place number one, the place of revenge. You see, revenge is a very delicate place to put yourself in. I have oftentimes heard people saying that the best revenge is success. And if you visit the area of revenge using the person and the proxy of the person you've met in a new relationship, it will do you more harm than good. We all believe that as grown ups, it is most important that you identify that the interests you have are being served, and those interests are not overtaken by emotions. In other words, if you take a candidate today, never take that candidate to the place of revenge. Never use that candidate to settle scores with an ex that you are not done with. For instance, you want to prove a point. You want to show people that, you know what, I got myself a very good candidate. I got myself another one. So I was not the problem in the first place. I want you to understand that if that person realizes at some point that you are using them as a proxy to settle scores for challenges you had in the past, to settle scores with people that you are no longer at loggerheads with, then I want you to understand that that arrangement will be dead on arrival. Nobody wants to feel used for whatever reason. I understand that in love, just like in politics, there are two constants: interest and betrayal. If that partner has not betrayed you yet, you should never take them to the place of betrayal by revenging, using them to settle scores, using them. You know, there are those people who maybe after they get a match, they are posting them all over. There's nothing wrong with posting them, but there is everything wrong with making suggestive posts showing the other person that, you know what, you were the problem. You are the problem. So sometimes you are the problem, and if you want to escalate that problem, just try and take your partner to the place of revenge. You will regret. So please, I want you to observe that place. So place number one, the place of revenge. Never visit that place. Forget about it. Number two, the place of repeated mistakes. I believe that for any relationship to fail, there must have been a mistake. Exceptions being only widowhood. Let's assume that maybe one lost their spouse through death. You cannot question them, you cannot question God. Unless now they are the people who took those people's lives, unless they murdered them in first degree murder, in manslaughter, in whatever case, in whatever circumstances, if they aided in the maiming of that person, then we cannot rule out the possibility that it was a mistake. However, if this person if this person is maybe divorced, separated, or never married at some point, there is a series of mistakes, a consistent level of ignoring red flags. And you see, when you ignore red flags consistently, it is on you. And if you ignore these red flags, it happens that at some point or another, you will become a victim. And maybe you will lose the relationship, you lose that person, you can even end up losing those children's custody. And if you lose the custody of children, it will be a big regret, whether you are male or female. So the place of mistake should never be visited again. And this is a place where people are able to sit down and do a comprehensive need analysis and ask themselves, where did I go wrong? What did I do wrong? And then you sit down and analyze in the past relationships, what did I ignore that was not supposed to be ignored? In the past relationship, what did I do that was not supposed to be done? What did I overdo? What did I underperform? Under what circumstances could I have contributed to the loss of that relationship? It is called the place of repeated mistakes. But because most people are ignorant, they like just walking with common sense. And if you walk with common sense, you will just be walking to common places and you will be heading to common places with common people, because that is a very common mindset. Do you understand? So the place of repeated mistakes, excuse me, the place of repeated mistakes is a place you should never ever visit. Are we together? The place of ignorance. In French, they say ignoration no defense. Uh, I don't know whether I pronounced it accurately, but in English, interpreted in law, ignorance has no defense. In other words, if you are taken to a court of law, the burden to prove yourself innocent lies on the defendant. There are two parties in court, three of them, in fact, four of them, in fact, the judge and the jury, the people who are going to make decisions on who is wrong and who is right. Then we have the prosecution. The prosecution are the people who brought the case before you. There is the defendant and the plaintiff. Now, you becoming the defendant will have to ask yourself, am I acting from a place of ignorance? As I've said, ignorance of the law has no defense. Just because you don't know something does not mean that that thing will not affect you. And that's why even subjects like this one, podcasts like this one, are very important. They help to guide realities. They help you to understand that all things are possible, but not under every circumstance. Are we together, ladies and gentlemen? So I don't want you to walk ignorantly thinking that, you know what, mimi sijuangi, si kujua kama ni mgonjwa, si kujua kama ni nini. Ignorance has no defense. So you should never visit the place of ignorance. The place of ignorance is a place where most people end up either with an unwanted pregnancies, they contract STDs, they contract other diseases, they contract. And now that one takes you to point number two, the place of mistake. But the place of mistake sometimes is brought about by the place of ignorance. And this is where you should never, at any given point, decide to go back. Are we together? So I don't want you to ignore the fact that you can be ignorant about certain things in a relationship. That's why we create and we buy books. That's why we write books. For instance, I've written this book. Go get it. I did this book in the year 2015. I don't know where you are 10 years ago. I don't know where you are in love or you are in a relationship or you are single that time. I did this edition in 2015, a book that has withstood the test of time. And there are entire chapters that cover on relationships. This book goes for $10, which is very small, depending on where you are. If you add maybe things like a delivery fee. If you buy this book and read, if you buy books like this one, you don't have to buy this one. If you buy books like this one is called Go Get It. Don't wait for things to happen. Make them happen by fire, by force, by fire, by thunder. Don't just sit by waiting and hoping that things will happen. My point is clear, that the place of ignorance should never be a defense that I didn't know, so it can't happen. It will happen whether you know it or not. If there is an area of your life that you need to understand, please understand. If there is something you don't know and you need to ask, please go ahead and ask. Because in the place of ignorance, people make mistakes. That's why most people never ask questions. They form a relationship, they don't ask that person what happened to your previous relationship. Nini happen, then what? Then what? Then what? Are we getting this point? So that is a place you should never ever visit once you fall in love. Number four, last but not least, the place of ego. I don't know whether you've read this book called Ego is the Enemy. Most of you are so proud, and you see, pride can only take you far, too far, in fact. But again, mtaka cha mvunguni sharti ainame. There are people who will never text before you text. Unless you text them, they don't text you. Unless you call them, they don't call you. So the other person gets tired and they say, to hell with the relationship. If the both of you become proud, that relationship is dead on arrival. So one of the things you should understand is that the place of ego should never be visited in a serious relationship. In other relationships, if it's a business, if it's a sales, it's something you want to close like a sale, maybe umeshiba utaki kufanya biashara, you can exercise ego. Maybe umeshiba sana unataka kufutwa kazi, you can exercise ego. Maybe you just want an excuse so that you can quit your job, you are free to exercise ego. But at the same time, relationships are made of people who are willing to compromise on certain things, people who are willing to say I am sorry, people who are willing to say, oh my bad, this is my mistake, my fault, I'm sorry about that, I will rectify that, next time I will be better, I will do better. These are the kinds of people who have been able to withstand the test of time in marriages, the kind of people who have been able to do greater and better things, the kind of people who have been able to weather the storms, because marriage can be stormers. I don't know whether there's such a word, but marriage can, you're getting the idea? Marriage can be a big major storm. But because you're willing to make it happen by fire, by force, by fire, by thunder, you want to see it happening, you guys will suspend the ego and make those people who want to lose, because ego is the enemy. So the place of ego should never be visited at any given point. Are we together? So if you're willing to take your relationship to the next level, if you want to sustain that relationship, that marriage rather, then the place of ego should never be visited. I hope you find these episodes very interesting. I hope you are able to learn a thing or two. Iron sharpens iron. We learn every day. The more enlightened you are on any subject matter, the greater the level of command you guide. So subscribe.